Buonasera, siamo qui sul...
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are here on the main stage at VO, second day of the trade fair. We are here with Alessia Crivelli, president of the Mani Intelligenti Foundation, which means smart hands. I know her for years. We are here to learn something about the foundation, which was set up in 2018, so that she can tell us what have been so far and the future of this foundation. There has been a talk held a couple of hours ago on beauty, and we spoke about how to make an object attractive to attract the young persons to the profession. Let's talk about the profession and the origin of the foundation. Well, the foundation was registered in 2018. In the years before that, we had a lot of meetings sponsored by the management and companies in order to meet the demand of training and the fact that the industry is apparently not attractive to students. It was indeed a far-sighted idea, because today training is a key word which is very much mentioned. Indeed, many industries do have problems because there are not enough skilled persons who use their hands. We might use the projection, yes. The companies who are member of the foundation are 46 for 2,300 workers. When we got started, there were 14 companies as founders, as well as the municipality, who is the founding father by statute. Now, in the area, there are 540 companies in the cluster with 4,400 workers. In a way or the other, we cover more than half of the workers of our cluster. So we are indeed offering a good representation. What our vision as a foundation? But indeed, we might speak of that at the end. I'd like to go back to our origin to explain why we set up the foundation. The foundation was set up because, indeed, the communication was bad. We were not open to students, to schools, to training centers, to the whole community. We were, in a way, disconnected, because indeed companies were doing their job. So we were working alone, by ourselves. But since we realized that training is a critical point, a problem that we share, we were able to sit around the same table with big brands, big companies, service companies, SMEs, a number of companies who could not talk to each other. You quote, you said that a report has been recently published. Indeed, we'll speak of that. We need 340,000 talents because we need to fill many posts within the fashion system. I mean, the issue of scarcity of talents. What can we do? What are you doing to that? How comes that the issue has become so critical? It is critical because there was no communication in the past. In our industry, we just related with those who deal with the finished product. So the supply chain, the suppliers, well, what happened before, we did not communicate on that. Then there was a lack of communication on training, which institutes to attend. In Valenza, we had experienced the change and the school reform implemented by the ministry. I attended the School of Art, which used to train setters, goldsmiths, and so on. And that school really represented our industry. It was a reference point, at least in our cluster. So that school was closed, and the topics were taught in another high school, which is a lyceum. That was the first step. There was a total lack of communication between schools and companies. All in all, companies knew what they needed. The school did not. And so at last the doors were opened. The training was organized for that. It was a sort of interface, a bridge. The stakeholders of the foundation are the students, the schools, the companies, and the community. And the foundation is in between, an interface among different settings who find it difficult to communicate. What are the positions or the skills? What are the workers most difficult to identify and which you need most? And what are the changes as compared with the past? Indeed, there has been a change, and we have to work on that. Others are the key professions of the industry which we most lost. In our cluster 2 years ago, calculating on the next 5 years meant that half of the labor force was due to retire. There are many workers who are close to retirement, and so we need young generations. This is the main issue. So handing over a manual work that the jeweler, the polisher, the setters, who are at the basis of our profession, and those who, indeed, it takes a long time to learn them. Indeed, the process can be fostered, but you have to work hard on that and make the profession attractive. It's an upstream work, yes. Recently, I had the opportunity to talk with colleagues at our magazine. We thought maybe young persons are not able to realize that, here we have good friends, and depending on how you work a metal, harder or softer, that makes the difference. So we should be able to make young persons understand that the different steps, which might simply appear a form of technicality, is something which is very emotional, which is very personal. If we just could communicate that part, that element, that there is a personal touch that you can put on the object, and objects have a subjective value depending on the worth of a person, that might be something useful. This is one of the things on which we worked a lot. Not on the process, but how a process is made. It was a way of recovering the importance of learning how to gold as smith and the setter, communicating with the real professionals, so that we can communicate that A process is a process, but if you do something as a person, it's the way in which you do things which gives the identity. You learn from your tutor and you put yourself in the object. So the training of trainers, that's a key point. Some speak about training of young persons, but the training of trainers is also very important, and that should be really appreciated. There are many little pieces to be put together. Yes, it's a supply chain. That is part of the supply chain, and it's a key element. It's easy to speak about your expectations from young persons. I hear about the expectations within a company. The key element is that first we have to listen to young persons, to ask them, what is your idea about this profession? And do understand that they are the hands of the future. So we can give tools to them, but they have to be aware of what they do, of their choices, so that we can enhance their talent. There was a time when the emphasis on training was different. Many said, if you cannot go to the university, you go and become a blue collar. And something which is the foundation is doing, and we are working on that, is to give an identity to the training course of our industry, so that there is a common thread. So when we speak to their families, and this is important, we have to convey that our world is not only design. I mean, we have wonderful schools where design is taught. They are considered gold and jewelry and goldsmith schools. It's not that. Creativity without technologies and method is not there. And in particular, they should understand what our world is. We have to change the way we communicate. We should tell what is done within our schools, in technical schools. On top of that, there is a need to work and define professional profiles which are becoming essential for the companies, and the training courses are not yet there. ETS, for example, in Italy, there are a lot of funds from the Recovery Fund to support the investments. That is a key objective. It's a good certificate. It's a course which is mainly implemented within a company. And anyway, you work in a laboratory, so when you get your certificate, you have a very vertical approach to production processes, and you are better trained to follow those processes which are beginning to be implemented in many companies, which are maybe more automated than the past and are more complex, so that you can really understand how to manage a lab, a common lab, in a more general way. And this is important. I'd like to connect to what we said before. While you work with the associates, you have an issue with SMEs, i.e. how the foundation is supporting training, supporting also SMEs in this work.
Nel cercare di risolvere questa situazione.
Sure. We, right now, like all the other departments, lack expert workers. So it is not just the problem of training the young people, but of having specialized setters. There has been an explosion of requests, so we need to increase the number of people working there, and specialized people especially. So during the pandemics, we have been working very, very hard. It was not a dull moment. We have presented our roadmap the last time in January 2020 in Vicenza. We talked about all what we had done together with the Artistic Lyceum. We cannot provide them with a workshop, but we provided them with CAD design possibilities, providing them with a space, with the computers, and we also gave them a microprinter because we wanted them to develop their project, put it on a USB drive and take it to our company to have it printed there with a good connection between the students and the company. So we had many projects that COVID actually froze. But COVID did not freeze the processes of our foundation because we were all united, companies and people. We worked together with the Politecnico in Milan to have a vertical COVID safety protocol for the jewelry industry. So this is still active with the hope that they will be unnecessary from the 31st of March onwards. We have supported schools when they were closed. We have organized a contest with primary schools, secondary schools. More than 250 pupils were supported by a designer, and together with their teachers of art and technology, they had to conceive a piece of jewelry. So starting from people representing a certain value, such as sustainability, they had to create with all what they had a piece of jewelry telling us why and how they created it. This has been done in physical presence. Last year this was done totally online in a very dark moment. It was December, January 2021, and I would have given awards to every single one of them. And I was really moved because they produced such an amazing light in such a dark moment that was really extraordinary. We have been working in the school, in the high school, to create a project also for them. Dodging what COVID would not allow us to do. So we put together the artistical school with the language school, with the scientific school, with the accounting school. And all these high schools had an objective, which was that of setting up a company, each one with their own competences. The artistic school, of course, had to use creativity. The linguistic had to take care about communication. And then, of course, we had the accounting school providing for all the economical accounts. And we provided them with connections with me, with Augusto. We connected with legal office in Turin to teach them about brands. We try to get them as involved as possible, creating communication and showing to them that companies are different from what they think. I'm sorry if I interrupt you, but the Lyceum jewelry project had already started in 2020, and could you update us, please? It is still work in process, and it is connected to schools and to the Ministry of Education. Do you already have an idea? Yes, we know what we're going to do. We're debating this with the competent authorities, the MUR. And, you know, when you are involved in schools that are state-owned, processes are very time-consuming, and it is possible that in the future some other industry, leather goods or others, may decide to do something similar. So it is necessary to evaluate many different factors, and we're working hard on what we've got right now, trying to be realistic. and going hand in hand with our society and our world. Right, so if you want to summarize the model of your foundation today, if you really want to summarize all this extremely, what can we say? Oh, this is a very interesting project because it makes you understand the intrinsic relation we have with our community. And this is fundamental. It is fundamental. We would be nothing without our city, without Valenza. And we want Valenza to be recognized as a creative city. We will work hard on this project again for 2023. In 2023, other cities have won, and they have a more advanced background, and we have learned from them. So we are going to recandidate in 2023. But this was fundamental because we got together. Our city decided the logo. The logo was designed by people of the city. We tried to get the whole system involved, and this is something really beautiful. This is our campaign to promote our manufacturing context, and that is the summary you wanted to have. Well, this is a snapshot of your model. Exactly. It simplifies what is ongoing right now. So the purpose is that to meet the need of companies. They need people. And in this way, we have a 500-hour course, 500 hours of training, and the foundation takes care of the first 4 steps, which are the most complicated ones for a company. So we identify the schools to develop the programs. We make them understand who we are, what we want to do, why we are looking for people, and where do we want to bring these people. Then we select candidates, and these candidates must not only have a skill or a capability, but they must be motivated. They must be wanting to do this. Then we start the first 250 hours of training are provided according to a protocol that has been defined by the foundation, i.e. by the companies. And this is very interesting because we've got an interface to companies and to schools as well with an open dialogue. Step number 4 is paramount because during step number 4, we avoid dispersion. So we match the person's skills and capabilities and features. We really evaluate these people's capabilities. And we match them with the companies. I mean, it's a marriage, and it is very important to get the match right. Then companies take over with a staff leasing for 12 months and an extra 250 hours of training to be received directly in the company. But the person arriving into the company already has a background and already knows a lot about the company. This is a very interesting model because it is for everybody, i.e. our foundation provides sponsored projects, but the project is available to all the companies who are part of the value chain. So it's not only for the companies of the association, it is also for other companies. So we have a quota so that companies in need, even if they're not affiliates, can actually take advantage of this program. Well, compared to your mission and vision at the beginning, if we want to look at the future, how do you see the future of the foundation? After 3 years, how do you think this is going to evolve? These 3 years have been pretty complicated, and we needed to sort out complex situations. I believe that we will open up to other companies in the future. That's a future I see. I like to think of... Now, of course, we have to identify our headquarters, because we haven't got any yet. So when we have our own headquarters, we will open up many different scenarios, from the possibility of having a workshop in our headquarters where companies can assess future employees, can make sure that the marriage will work out with a much wider network, envisaging cooperation with all the other jewelry clusters in Italy. That was my next question. So you are connected with the other jewelry clusters, is that right? Of course. So when developing your model, which type of synergy do you envisage with the other clusters? There is a very strong communication synergy. We are all very united, and this is beautiful. Because through training and education, we manage to exchange ideas with the other clusters and understand their needs, which are different from cluster to cluster. And we can also understand how we can be even more comprehensive in our education. This group of companies that will open up to more companies will develop an ecosystem that works, that is attractive, and that gives the opportunity to have a future in a world which is absolutely beautiful. We need to tell all this. Young people need to understand that when they start working in a workshop, they're working in an interconnected world, an international world. And it is not just a brand identity, it is a job identity, and that's paramount. It is not just branding, it is a job as such. You hinted to internationalization. I mean, Italy is quite unique as far as its manufacturing skills and capabilities are concerned. How is the problem of education and training perceived abroad? Do they have a similar problem? I'm just curious about that. What do the other countries do? Which difficulties do they encounter? Well, the other countries have got different difficulties. Maybe they want to provide training to the people who are going to work in their own companies. I always think of France, because they're also scattered throughout their national territory, but they give such a high value to our job. You know, it is viewed as excellence. In every jewelry master, they see Benvenuto Cellini. So it would be wonderful if they told our story, or at least if we learned from them to tell our story. And this is also one of our missions. And we need to bring innovation, change, openness. We need to change our rhythm, our pace. And this is not easily communicated because our companies have always had a different evolution. It's like the Vicenza Fair. You know, in the past we used to have huge closed booths, and now they're minimalistic and open. Some like it, some don't, but the buyers say, how beautiful, I can see everything. And the product is extolled, and we need to extol our job, our identity, and to do this in a world that is ever-changing, we need to accept the fact that we need to change our pace. But if we do that together, it is much easier, and you manage to go further away. So The foundation consists of entrepreneurs, companies who work hard, who are committed, who work together with schools. And we have always moved in an institutionally correct way in compliance with the institutions which are fundamental. Another question, you get together many different companies. So which is the contribution and the value given by the foundation to the whole cluster? It is this unity, as well as the capability and the desire to develop fundamental projects, and the desire of many colleagues, friends, entrepreneurs, or the whole cluster to be united to reach our objective. Because that is the baton that we're going to give to the people coming after us. Maybe our children, but also all these pupils. We owe this to them, and we owe this also to our jewelry tradition that must continue in time. Yes, we're known all over the world for the beautiful items that we produce. Exactly. So we have the responsibility of keeping alive our tradition and matching what we are with the future in a functional way that really opens up the world to these young people, makes them understand that they got something extraordinary. Exactly. Each one in his own or her own way, we all work in the same direction to provide continuity to this wonderful job. And they admire us and envy us all over the world. So I would like to thank you for this contribution, Alessia. And I hope that at the next fair we'll make one extra step forward. I believe that this kind of meeting should be present in our agenda and calendar also in the future. It is important to take stock of the situation.
You know, when you speak about training, and you know that very well, you refer to things that people do not grasp immediately. So it seems that it takes a long time to do things. Training is something which starts from inside. You have to feel it and understand that training is continuous, is lifelong. When you work in an emergency, you should be aware that training is a short, medium, and long term. We try to implement a training model which, in the next 3 to 5 years, self-nourishes itself. It's the result of a difficult process we are building now. Without the foundations, I mean, we could train all persons who are needed in an emergency, but they have not learned the passion for the profession. So thank you very much. Thank you, Alessia. I'll see you next September. Goodbye, everyone.
No, grazie. No.